Here's a quick update on a kind of mystery school or wisdom school a group of us are putting together outside of higher ed. I'm training teachers right now. They will offer classes online as well as a certificate or two eventually. And if you want to look at what we're doing, there's a website under construction, pronoia.org. That's pronoia.org, named after a wisdom goddess. So a question I get a lot is, why are you doing this outside of higher ed? Why no degrees? None of that stuff. So things are really hard in higher ed right now. If you follow the news, you know that, especially in the United States. So that's one reason. But even before all that political chaos started, we had resolved to do our building outside of higher ed, because it's really hard to do anything in higher ed that's innovative. It's just really hard. I want to give you a single example of a simple change that's not simple. So I'm redesigning a class right now. It's in my own program, the one I chair. And in this class, there's an item on the syllabus under the learning outcomes, which are our best hopes for what people get out of the class. And because you can't predict what people are going to learn, right? But anyway, class learning outcomes. Students will, I forget exactly what it says, but basically conduct a piece of quantitative research during the course of studying a dream. So it's not a bad idea. There's a lot of good quantitative research happening with dream studies. It just doesn't fit either the class or the program. It got in there when it was a different program. So now that I've got the class, I want to take it out. It doesn't fit, students don't like it. It prevents them from signing up for the class, so it's often under-enrolled. It's time for it to come out. I do give them other kinds of research, quantitative and qualitative, to look at, but they don't have to do this as an assignment. Now, because it's in a course learning outcome, this means I have to get a curriculum committee to approve it. And that means that at some point, this has to trigger a redesign of the entire class. And it has to go into a clunky system that should have been replaced 10 years ago, for which there's a waiting line because the system can only handle so much. And there aren't enough people at the school to do the inputting. So what we're talking about is, for me to remove a single learning outcome from the syllabus is a 4, 5, or 6 month wait that has to be approved by layers of other people. That is ridiculous. And that's only one example. I could do a whole series on examples of how this looks. So we're not going to do that. I also, in a past life, past professional life, was an accreditation liaison officer. When you create a new academic program, a degree program, there is a whole other hell of nightmare after nightmare bureaucratically that you have to go through to get everything approved. I'm not doing that again. So we want something nimble. We don't want a Jurassic period system that has no hope of adapting to the changes of the times. We want flexible, creative kinds of offerings that we can change when we need to, and that we don't have to report to any committees in order to get changed. We want things that offer people wisdom. And if you're wondering why wisdom, look at the news. Where do you see any wisdom? Where do you see any wisdom in politics, in education, in finance, in religion? We're dying of lack of wisdom. And I don't mean wisdom in some abstract philosophical sense. I mean the applied stuff that tells us smart ways to live and do things. And wisdom that lets us show up in different situations with our entire self rather than just our limited conscious mind. So I'll keep you updated as we go. We're making really good progress so far. Thanks.